Hey there, welcome back to Tennille Talks. This reading is giving me the feeling I got about in 2022. I really started to hear people say overstanding, understanding, and understanding. It was like no longer were we just saying understanding. We were always saying it in spiritual conversations that had depth. You know, we were saying the inner and we were saying the over. When I hear over, inner, and understanding all at the same time in a situation, my mind goes to one of the best fight moments of a Matrix movie with Neo, right? So if you've seen any Matrix movie, if not, watch a short on YouTube and just experience a fight scene. And so when Neo has the ability to see something in slow motion, that is our equivalent of over, under, and understanding. And to use that ability, you recognize that Neo does this when fighting, right? This is stillness, right? The power that Neo shows when you over, inner, and understand is the power of being still. Because it is when you are still, you can see the opposition, you can see the intention of the attack, right? And through foresight, you can see, well, what happens if I allow this attack to land? What happens if I move to my left? What happens if I move to my right, right? When we are over, inner, and understanding, we are having a Neo Matrix moment where we are in the middle of an attack, but we have slowed down a situation so much so, when I say we have slowed down a situation, I am saying that we have mastered ourselves. We are so much in control of ourselves that even in the midst of war and strife, we have the ability to pick apart the attack piece by piece, right? Imagine that an attack is a meal. Well, when you are in your stillness, when you are having your Neo moment, all of a sudden, somebody throws chili at you, but when it comes to you, it doesn't come in chili. Everything separates. The meat slides here. All of a sudden, the peppers separate. The onions, the beans, you pull apart the entire meal. You dissect it. That is the over, the inner, and the understanding. If we could consider this as a spiritual gift and a spiritual ability, this is what you would have picked up along the way. To pick up the Neo moment, it can only be picked up in battle, right? So consider this for the reading. Now, at some point, I have the energy of marrying. You are supposed to fit together, to combine, or to unite with some type of possession. When we're talking about a possession, we're talking about something that has the ability to take over control, right? Imagine if you're flying a plane and somebody just comes and kicks you out of the cockpit. Your body is a vessel. It is a vehicle, right? And if your spirit is in control, well, then you have the ability to be possessed by something other than you, something outside of you. Now, because of your authority, because of who you are, I want you to know that your vessel is a hot commodity, right? If we were talking about real estate, your vessel, your body, you would be located on the water somewhere, right? You probably would be in a location where you do not have 4 seasons. You know, I'm talking about something tropical, right? Where people tend to go to vacate. This is the type of vessel you are living in full time, right? And it's because of your divinity. It's because of your royalty, right? So imagine that your body, your life, even if it isn't beautiful, it is a vacation spot for spirits, and not always spirits that want to bring you peace. Some of the spirits that would like to use you as hosts, some spirits that would like to take a vacation, right? They would like to take a drive in something other than what they are condemned to. They are attracted to your vessel. because of the power, because of the authority, right? You are a leader. When we're talking about jumping in vessels and jumping in cars, don't you want to jump in something exclusive? If you had the ability to ride in something, wouldn't you pick a vehicle that you may not get a chance to ride in all the time? And so when we're talking about bodies, yes, we're human and we're all walking around. But if some of us are Lamborghinis and Maseratis, and you understand what I'm saying? Some of us, they've only made 100 of us. Right? Some of us have specific gifts that only 200 of us have, 300 of us have, right? So when we're talking about authority, you don't hold power in the way that everybody else does. And so when somebody attempts to come after your vessel, when there isn't a possession sent your way that wants to marry you, combine with you, or fit with you, I mean, we don't always consider that to be a privilege, but at some point, after attack and attack and attack, it's time to start to question, what is it about what I'm driving? You know what I mean? What is it that I'm driving that makes people keep wanting to carjack me? Spiritually, this is a spiritual carjacking, right? This is what spiritual warfare is. But this is also how you get to be in the Neo moment, where you can look at the war. You can be in the middle of war. And you can see it from above, from inside, and from under. In order to possess the Neo skill, in order to possess the Neo ability, you must pull yourself close. So here's the thing. Imagine, we are very energetically, we are fragile. So when I talk about energy for just a moment, I want you to imagine that your energy shield is really like glass. And so when spell work and black magic is sent towards you in order to get you ripe for a possession of any kind, right? When it's sent towards you to get you ripe for a possession, it needs to splinter you. It needs to crack, right? If your aura or your energetic field is like a glass, they need to break the glass. And in many ways it is fragile, right? Because they can see through you. I want you to imagine that other entities, the abilities, they are not limited. We have our 5 senses, but those senses are very limiting if we were to attempt to use them in a different realm or dimension, right? Or at a different vibration or frequency. And so as an entity or a spirit, when they're looking at you, imagine that maybe we think that everything is hidden within us and nobody can see through us, but it's really like looking through glass, vibrationally and energetically. And so when they're looking at something to target. They need to know, well, what spot do I shatter this glass? Because when I shatter this glass, I have an entry point. When I have an entry point, I can make my way into the host and take over the command center. Right? And so you must pull yourself together energetically, because harmful events have a way of splintering you or shattering your glass, right? They want to scatter your energy all over the place, right? Think about that. That's that Neo moment. This is what they want to do to you in order to make you a prime candidate for hosting something, another spirit, right? And so they shatter you. They slow you down. When they're looking at you, they are slowing you down. They are looking at you over, under, and inner, and they're finding the spot that they can enter. And so after attack and attack and attack, after this happens to you again and again and again, the very thing that they are using to attack you, which is stillness, they are attacking you in stillness. That is the exact way that you overcome or conquer or respond or retaliate, right? You have to be in it. You have to be standing in the attack to see beneath it, to see above it. You can only get this skill in the attack. Y'all, I'm telling you, sometimes when we're going through these things, we just feel our way through it naturally. You know, our human won't, that's the human in us. But why you? Why your vessel? What is important about commanding your ship? Think about your authority. This is where you start to develop self-confidence, okay? Harmful events, they splinter you. They shatter your glass. They want to spread your energy everywhere because it's harder to protect yourself when all your pieces are together. You know what I mean? Yes. And so when your inner self is splintered, there's going to be pain and longing until you can pull yourself together, so to speak, right? All of you always is desiring reconciliation. So imagine that after an attack, you've been splintered and shattered, and you must pull yourself together. You must pull yourself together to do anything, to get up and go to work the next day, to get up and take care of your kids, right? To get up and maintain your relationship, to get up and take care of there's life. And then there's the spiritual stuff that shatters you, that splinters you. And so at some point, your goal is not necessarily to stop the attack, because we need the attack to pick up the ability to see in it, over it, and under it, right? This is how Neo becomes Neo. This is how you step into your authority unapologetically. Every part of your being is deserving of love. But every time you're shattered with a harmful event or a traumatic event, it splinters you. In all of your pieces, imagine you're a bowl of chili and think about all the things that go into chili. Think about all the things that the Most High put to make you. You are the best bowl of chili you can imagine. But when spell work or black magic is used, when you drop that bowl of chili, imagine all the peppers separate and get into a pile. All the onions go into a pile, all the hamburger, all the pinto beans. Imagine that everything separates and now it's no longer chili. We just got these random ingredients. And the magic in the meal that the Most High created, that was you. It no longer looks like it. And so here's the thing. In order to marry you to a possession, you first must be splintered or shattered. And knowing that you can't be fit or united or combined with anything else unless you are first splintered. The idea is, as soon as you recognize that you have been shattered, as soon as you recognize that you have been splintered, this is the moment where you start to understand. I am standing in some shit, right? It's time to get still. This is the Neo moment. I need to pull all my pieces back together, right? I'm no longer chili. I need my peppers. I need my onions. And so spell work, it harms you, but the intention is to make you something other than you, so that temporarily you can be used as host. Somebody can take over, yeah? But in stillness, you saw through the intention of the spell. In stillness, you saw through the intention of the spell. Listen, you had a Neo moment where you could see above it, you could see below it, all while standing in it. That moment, that Neo moment, is what triggered a shedding, is what triggered a metamorphosis. I want you to know that, let's say you've been through 10 wars, and on the 10th war, you finally recognize the way in which you were shattered. And now that you see the way that you were shattered, you can start to pull yourself close. You bring those peppers back to those onions, right? Get all the taco seasonings, you know what I mean? You bring it all back together and you start to make that meal again. You start to get back to you. And so when a possession comes for you, it's coming for your courage. It's coming for your strength, right? And you have to burst free from the prison of the possession by way of the mind. The only thing that can get you out of a possession is going to be your belief system, right? It's going to be your belief system. All the parts of you that were just banished and hurt and harmed and wounded as a part of the spell work or the black magic, right? Everything that was touched by that witchcraft has been banished. The only way to bring it back, the only way to fix your shield and to dig out the splinters and to gather the glass, right, is to have the courage and the strength to pull those pieces together and to love on them. To tell the soul it's safe to come back. Yeah, we went through an attack. Yeah, our authority was tested, but we're confident, right? We understand that our position requires us to walk a certain way. And because of our position, people don't like that we get to walk this way, right? But I want you to know that it was in the Neo moment that all of a sudden the judgment of the ungodly is triggered because you slowed it down and you begin to shed something. Although you're standing in the middle of attack, can you recognize that sometimes it is a time to celebrate something? This message is for somebody who knows that they are not out of it yet. You're standing in it. You are standing in it. But while standing in it, you're gathering all your pieces. You are reconciling the parts of your soul and your inner self that have been shattered and splintered. You need to have the strength to call back every part of you that was banished. And in order to do that, you need a sufficient amount of energy to act accordingly. Yes? So you set the intention, but then you know that the energy, all of my energy, I will not squander it. I need all of my energy. I need this to turn into strength. I need this to turn into courage because I need the pieces of me that were taken, that were broken, right? And those pieces were taken and broken as a way to wound your ability to defend yourself. And that's okay. Because it is in the attack that you see the attack. You slow the attack down. You need to be in the attack to essentially pull you know how we talk about looking behind the curtain or seeing beyond the veil or the veil being the thinnest? This is what you do. The Neo moment is essentially you being in an attack and snatching the veil back and being like, what the fuck is going on? Right? Where are my pieces? Where are the parts of me? Right? Like demanding and commanding. Because when you know who you are, you know who you are. That is an authority that cannot be challenged. It cannot be challenged. Yes, people will challenge it, but at the end of the day, it can't be challenged because it is what it is. Right? And so the attempts will be made. But if you don't pull yourself together and reconcile what happened from the last attack and the last attack before that, then you'll never be strong enough or have the courage enough to pull back that curtain while you're standing in it. The moment you can pull back that curtain is the moment to celebrate. That doesn't mean that that is the moment when the war is over. That doesn't mean that that moment marks the last attack. That was just the moment that you had the courage to be in it and recognize that I can win this. Even while in it, I can see this for what it is. I can break it apart. I can dismantle it. I can find every ingredient in every piece. I'm not afraid to look at it. I'm not running. I'm not scared. You know what I mean? When you show up to war like that, judgment of the ungodly is triggered. Right? Because you have recognized some ungodly shit that has been happening in your vessel or around your vessel, on the property of your real, your body. Think of it. It's your real estate property. You own this thing. People like to come around and play on your lawn. You think about all the things that people can do to your front yard, your backyard, the side of that is your aura, your yard that surrounds you. That is the part that needs to be shattered so that somebody can walk into your house and sit down and sleep and eat and command it as if they are you. Celebrate yourself because you pulled back the curtain. When you pulled back the curtain, the metamorphosis began. Pulling back the curtain is literally knowing that you have the authority to come against anything that ever thought that it could come against you. You reckon just pulling back the curtain is the moment that Neo could slow it down. It's when you know when to bend left, bend right, stop, drop, raise, right? Like pulling back the curtain, that's all you have to do, but it takes courage to see. It takes courage to see the things that were sent to harm you, to splinter you, to shatter you. That takes courage. You got to be ready to know. You got to be ready to see. And you are. And you were. And I don't know really which words to use because I know we're all in different spaces, right? Some of us knew we were Neo 5 years ago. Some of us just put the shades and the leather coat on, right? And so judgment of the ungodly, it had to come before your root chakra could be established, before your survival could really begin to thrive in the way that you knew you needed to exist here. There is a possession that you must pull the curtain back on. When you touch that curtain, the metamorphosis begins. You become the newly initiated elder. Neo. You can have a bowl of chili thrown at you, and in midair, you can separate it, and every ingredient used to make that chili will fall to the floor in a separate pile. Because you understand it, you overstand it, and you understand it. But in order to do that, to look at something, to dissect it, to pull it apart, you can't be afraid of what you see, right? And so I'm talking to a high priest, clearly, a high priestess. You have a strong connection to spirit. And when you touch that curtain, your purpose is restored. You are a gatekeeper. You have the ability to look beyond the veil. This is why people want to live on your property. When they hop in your vessel, it's not just any vessel. Yes, the connection and the strength, the energy that runs through you, it is supreme. It is divine. Right? Yes. Every time you touch that curtain to look beyond the veil, you are returning to pristine purity, which means you are returning to what made you, your purest form, your truest self, right? You are returning to be most like you were when what created you created you. It's like being born again. Every time you touch the curtain to look beyond the veil, it's like you reset the situation, right? You return the situation to purity. And it is a mental thing. It's happening consciously because in your mind, you remembered your authority. You remembered you had the ability to touch that veil. Maybe that's just sometimes the spell work and the magic, sometimes it is required just to get you to remember that you are equipped to make it through. And so here's the thing. You touch the curtain. Spirit is activated, right? You're the gatekeeper. Everything that was kept behind that gate, everything that couldn't be seen, couldn't be known, everything that was hidden, all of the ungodly things that were able to thrive, right? That you couldn't shed, every host that was able to live and attach, right? Anybody that could pitch a tent in your front yard. You had squatters, whether they made it into the house or not. A whole bunch of squatters living on your yard. Oh my God, that is going to change the energy of how you feel about living in your own home. Are you safe to go in? Are you safe to come out? When I'm saying, are you safe, does your soul feel safe to operate inside of your vessel in order to fulfill its divine mission, right? The spell work and the black magic does not want your soul to know it's safe in that vessel, in your body. When you touch that curtain, I want you to know that you trigger the metamorphosis. You go through the shedding. Now you become this elder. Now you've got this new power. And it's not that it's new, but it's new to you because now you know you're Neo. You know your name. You have your name badge on. Now you know why everybody has been coming to vacation at your spot. Why they just won't leave your house alone. Yes, but you needed the war. You needed the attacks because that is also what activated and what initiated your evolution into understanding who you are. Now that you've got this new power, you're this elder, you're activated, right? Listen, it doesn't matter what life looks like right now. I don't want you to think about what you're standing in. I want you to think about your mental agility. I want you to think about even in war, you can still be stronger than you've ever been, right? What are you holding in your hand? You touched the curtain. You saw something. A metamorphosis has happened for you. What is in your hand? Whatever is in your hand, it represents almost like the reward you got for being brave enough to see, brave enough to sense. You're the elder, right? The elder, not because of your age chronologically, but because of what is in your hand is old. It's ancient. It's a power that represents shamans or sages or priests and priestesses from long ago. And so you're an elder because of what is in your hand. You have accessed something sacred, something special, right? Now you have possession of what the possession was coming to possess you for, right? But you're a newly initiated elder. Right? It doesn't mean you don't have the magic. No, this is a victory for you. You just overcame an obstacle. You swept something aside. They threw chili at you and you dissected it. You broke it up into pieces and you saw it for what it was, right? This was one of your first necessary victories. One of your first necessary. You needed this. But if you needed the victory, you needed the war, right? And so in this moment, you've got some magic. You've got something in your hands that you need to take action on. It may be an idea. You know, think about the adrenaline. When the war ends, everything you're thinking and feeling, all of that can materialize and manifest into something physical to represent what you've just been through, what you've just accomplished, right? This is almost like you're about to write your own certificate. You're about to write your own completion letter with the magic that you've got. These new abilities. This is what you will use to root yourself again. Every time magic comes and you're shattered and you're splintered, imagine you being a flower that's like plucked from the ground, right? How do you become anything if you can't root or ground? And that is the idea. You will never grow into your authority or fully be the owner of your property or command your real estate or anything if you can't ground, because you're always splintered. You're always shattered. These harmful events, they like to keep you occupied, always trying to call yourself back together, always trying to reconcile, right? And until you reconcile, you will deal with pain. Until you reconcile, you will carry pain. It may not always be physical, you know, but there will be some residue that you carry until you can reconcile the parts that have been shattered and scattered. There is an idea that you need to take action on, but you also may need another perspective. You may need guidance. You may need assistance. There's a decision you have to make, but certain aspects of you could be confused or feeling like I don't really have the clarity, right? And that is okay. That is okay. You've just gone through a shedding. You've gone through a shedding. What happens when you shed? You lose a covering. Listen, the possession that has been trying to attach itself to you, you just had to shake it. You just had to lose it, right? You had somebody following you. You had to separate it off of you. Get rid of it. You must do this in order to prepare for change. Think about whenever we're shedding something, we're preparing for a new season. We're going, you know, and so this shedding that you had to go through, is because it was crowding your authority. You shed. Now that you've recovered your authority, you use your authority to see beyond the veil. You see beyond the veil and you snatch the very thing that this possession was coming to take. This is the very thing you needed to feel stable and secure and safe in the world. Whatever is in your hands is going to be what allows you to survive and thrive. And so this idea must be acted on. Right? You are clever. You are intelligent. What are your thoughts? What are your plans? That is what must be grounded and rooted. And so spell work and magic, no, it never feels good. But what you did while experiencing it is what changed the game. You won the war in the war. Can you imagine winning a war, but you win it? And it was like it never really died down or came to an end. You won the war at its climax in the middle, right? When the chili was being thrown, you touched that curtain and all of a sudden it just became a pile of 15 ingredients. You saw it for what it was. You picked up the ability to so imagine that in the first war, you learned how to understand. And then the second war, you understand. The third war, I overstand, right? Now when I show up for the fourth war, I take all of that shit, I put it together and I'm Neo. This is called be still. When the Most High says be still, this is why you be still. Because you have the ability to act as Neo and touch the curtain and see the ways. What happens if this was really a shedding? What if all of this was really a shedding? All of this is really just the judgment of the ungodly. But they wanted you to think that they were going to possess you. They wanted you to think that they were going to force you to marry something other than the spirit that the Most High has put in you, right? They wanted you to believe that that was the outcome of their magic or of their spell work. But man, when you touch that curtain, you know what I mean? When you touch the curtain, the chili turned to, it wasn't chili no more. It was not chili anymore. You see everything for what it is. Exposure. You have exposed something. And so if you are going through a shedding, it may not look good, feel good, but at the same time, you might be able to low-key celebrate this. You might be able to consider this as a win. Simply because you touched the curtain. Right? Y'all, I love you. If this reading is for you, hey Neo. Hey Neo. You know what I mean? Physical pain, despair, war, strife. Internal and external. Actions that are taken against our life, actions that are taken to bring us death. It doesn't feel good. But I promise you that when you can be still, you all of a sudden you're able to see what is likely to happen. It's almost like in the stillness you can see through the intention of the spell. Imagine, literally the spell is a bowl of chili. And in stillness, while you're going through the war, you had the ability to see it for what it was, to see what they wanted to do with it. Was the intention for you to eat the chili and to have bubble guts? You know what I mean? Like, what am I supposed to do with this? But you really didn't even need to consume it because you broke it down before it could even manifest fully. You shattered it. You shattered it. And sometimes miracles happen. Or sometimes prayers are answered in ways that we don't expect. And so there is a shedding that is taking place, but your shedding is because you touch that veil. When you touch that veil, judgment of the ungodly was triggered. Now, what that looks like in your life could be a whole explosion. But low-key, it's a party. It is a celebration. Because what happens next is you have in your hands what you always needed for your survival, what you always needed to sit on your throne, what you always needed to walk in your authority. Finally, you have reconciled every piece of you that every war has stolen, has wounded, has damaged, has broken. It may not look good, it may not feel good, but I promise you, it was in the stillness that you saw through the intention of the spell. Understand, overstand, and understand. I love y'all so much. I'll see you in the next one.